So I have been very concerned about the upcoming worldwide, once in a lifetime events that are coming up. And on the subreddit, I have been trying to make people aware that this is coming, that they need to think about who they are living with and whether or not that's a safe situation. So, one of the things that we learned during COVID is that there were a lot of abusive people in positions of power at work who, like, that's how they got it out, I guess. And so when they didn't have the ability to take it out on subordinates at work, people who literally, are being paid to be like punching bags for this person's ego, I guess. See, we've all been there. We've all been in that like kind of position. And so what they were doing is they were going home, taking it out on people at home or just like out in the world, like any excuse to yell at somebody, they would take it and run with it because that's how they emotionally regulated is their ability to power over another person and basically yell at them and that they couldn't do anything about it. And so the people living with those abusive managers had an uptick, right? Or if they didn't feel like they could do that at home, they'd go out and do it in public. But it was like a very key part of their ability to feel normal was the ability to humiliate other people and belittle them and abuse them. And so working remotely took that away. And there's, I forget, I, it's on the subreddit. I put it in the subreddit. But basically, somebody said that they think that that was a big driver of why so many CEOs were like, we got to get back into the office. Aside from the commercial real estate market of it all, but that these CEOs wanted to get back into the office. Because how do you know if you're a CEO if you don't have the entire office basically bowing down to you that they felt that they needed this to feel their identity, I guess. Anyway, so I had the opportunity to see what happens in homeless communities. I've been active with like supporting my local homeless, learning their names and their stories and like what's happening. And actually, I was going to do an interview with one of my friends that I had made through this, and I had her over, and then we got to talking. So we didn't do the interview because we were just chatting. But her situation was so eye opening, and she was trapped in being homeless with an abuser. And so it took her a while to unravel it because she's like, oh no, he's only like that when he does drugs. And then he gets very paranoid. And so for her, it's not him, it was like his drug use. But the thing is, he's doing drugs all the time. And even when he wasn't doing drugs, he was still being controlling. So it only escalated to like the physical abuse when he was using, but he was still being a very controlling person when drugs weren't involved. And so obviously it was like a kind of a gentle 2 years of me saying like, girl, this is that's not okay. That's not how we treat people. And so like, imagine you're in a house with an abuser. They'll bust in your door. But often you have some kind of space from them. Imagine how much worse it is in a tent. You're in a tent with this person. You cannot get away from this person. She literally pretended to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and then ran to my house because I was within running distance so she could show up on my doorstep. Like living with an abuser is bad. Living in a tent, an abuser is incredibly worse. And so as the economy gets worse and more people find themselves on the side of the road, and you end up in this like this horrible choice that you have to make. Because if you are a woman by yourself, citizens are going to treat you like a prostitute as an opportunity to pay you for sex. And then they're going to act as if you should be grateful that they are giving you this opportunity to make some money. Like the amount of, like, I would be standing on the side of the road watching regular looking dads drive by. I mean, I don't know they were dads, but some of them statistically had to be. And then stopping and offering $5, $10, $20 for some action. Just because someone looks like a good person does not make them a good person. They all looked like regular people, regular guys. And so the thing is, if you're on the street by yourself, that's how you get treated. And, you may have your fellow homeless try and treat you that way as well. If you are in a relationship with someone and you're homeless, you're trapped in a tent. So first of all of your regular emotional regulation skills that you might be using in a home environment, those go out the window. You don't have privacy. There's no door to go behind, not even to go to the bathroom. Like, there might be a tarp if you're lucky. So the stress is higher, and it's safer to be with a person, but like, that person may not be a safe person. So how do you make that calculus? Well, what do I choose? Do I choose being beaten or being murdered? Which is better? So with the economy that's coming up, a lot of people are going to be starting to have to make these kinds of decisions. And I don't want you to be in that decision. We are learning what people do when they have power and you can't, they have power over your ability to eat. They have power over your ability to live. They use that power for their own benefit at your expense, and they feel entitled to do it. In fact, they're doing you a favor, because if they weren't allowing you to do whatever it is, then you wouldn't even be able to eat or live, and you should be so grateful. And that is if you are in a position of power above another person. It is your responsibility to use that power wisely for their benefit. You are in a position of responsibility. It's not about the authority. It's about responsibility. If you are putting yourself in a position of authority over another person, which, by the way, you don't get to decide at them, then you are in a position of responsibility for them and to them. Anyway, so there's another homeless woman that I know, and her name is Miss Trudy. And Miss Trudy is in a wheelchair, and the longer she's been out panhandling, the worse and worse and worse her body has been deteriorating. You can literally see it over the past however many years. I have been helping her, and people have been stopping by. She's right kind of like at one of my intersections. And so she's actually homeless with her children. I don't know how old she is because she looks 60. She could be younger. There is no telling. Like, the sun does what the sun does, and drugs do what drugs do. So she is out there with her kids, and then they have like a group, like their own encampment. And I know that when people are not around, her kids don't speak well to her in front of if you are the public. In front of the public, they're very solicitous to her, but once the public is not around, they are not solicitous to her. I know this because I know other homeless people who know them, and the quote was, "They talk to her in a way I wouldn't even talk to a dog." So Miss Trudy is physically fragile. She is not able to protect herself, but she's the person they put forward for people to give money to. Because, if a dude is standing on the road, a lot of the times he does not get as much money as a woman would or a fragile looking person would. So they put the most vulnerable person on the side of the road to get the money. And then they wheel her back to the encampment and, I don't know, treat her however they want to. She's kind of at their mercy. So being disabled and homeless, being used for your disability for other people to, so like this parasitic dynamic. And I know Miss Trudy loves her kids. You know, it's, is it a healthy dynamic? Is it a safe dynamic? Not necessarily. I know she loves them, and that's part of why she's doing what she's doing. But they also don't treat her well. So anyway, we're looking at a situation where a lot of people are going to be out of food. A lot of people are going to be out of money. A lot of people are not going to have resources, and they're going to end up on the street. Hopefully, at least in a car. If you're homeless in a car, at least you're doing 99% better than you could be. But you do not want to be living with someone who already, in a good environment, is already abusive. Because as it gets worse, as the stressors get worse, as the situation gets worse, they will get worse. And it's not just America. I have friends all over the world or people that I talk to worldwide. And, as I'm like, hey, just make sure you have food, set some money aside. It's not in a bank, just your general preparedness. And their attitude is like, nah, that's just y'all. That has nothing to do with us. Look, Europe, you're not safe. Canada, not safe either. Mexico has its own situation. Everybody who seems to be thriving right now is in Asia. I'm not saying move there because, as World War III kicks off and gets into it, then, that's the whole point of a world war, like nowhere is safe. And so I just France's economy is teetering already. So my personal analysis for kind of how all this goes is October to October. So this October to next October is really when our world war really starts kicking off. This is now where we're going to see massive troop movements and your, Franz Ferdinand assassination type event, whatever that is, that really makes it obvious all the stuff that's been going on behind the scenes. And hopefully, the movie Tron Ares, who is the god of war, that came out in October, and I was like, well, it's nice to be correct, in a movie. And then next year, October to October that's going to be your famine. That's going to be your disaster economy period. It takes a while for all this stuff to get rolling. And then it goes faster and faster. Here in the United States, we've got an issue with farmland. We've got an issue with farmers. We've got issues with, people not being able to get food. We have a lot of listeria outbreaks and the E. coli outbreaks. The food supply has been, it's like we're pulling out Jenga pieces on the Jenga tower, and then it falls all at once. But you see the pieces. Most people see the pieces and go, yeah, but it's still standing. It's fine. And that's that normalcy bias. We're expecting things to be the same. But it's Jenga pieces. And what makes it tricky is a lot of people have been making these kinds of claims for decades, for years. I mean, this is normal. That there's usually somebody that's like, the world is ending, the Chicken Little sky is falling kind of thing. But we are in it. It is happening now. You can, if you watch it's honestly, sometimes I look at the news for a minute and I'm like, I can't, just enough to know what's going on. And then I got to stop watching because you can just see it. You can see all the pieces falling into place. Internet being cut, the cables between countries, on the seabed floor being cut by, accidentally by these, ships that are really Russian proxies, whatever. Anyway, it's coming for everybody in some way, shape, or form. And so it's you really see how people are when they have power over you, when they have the ability to hurt you. How does someone view power, just even conceptually? Do they view power as a position of responsibility over whom they have power? Or do they view it as, oh, it's your job to have responsibilities to me? It's a upside down version of what the social contract is supposed to be. And, because someone can only be in power if other people agree to put them in power, like generally speaking on a meta level. And we only agree to do that if we think that that person will use that power responsibly, not for their own benefit, but for the benefit of others. So if you are living with somebody who already is not a safe person, already benefiting at your expense, you do not want to be living with them. You do not want to be living in a tent with a person like that. They will turn you into their punching bag. They will turn you into their free labor. They will turn you into their prostitute. It's so dehumanizing. And there comes a point where your body cannot handle all of what's happening. When you have not enough nutrition, when you're in malnutrition, you're more sick often. Your body physically can't recover from a beating. And then there's also the chronic health issues of it all. When you're in an abuse dynamic and you have to keep swallowing unfairness, they humiliate you and you can't respond. That's part of the abuse, is that they make you know that you are low status and they can do whatever they want to you. And over time, that in itself, even if you were in a safe place, except for this person, victims of abuse have chronic illnesses often. So anyway, I hope this makes sense. And this is serious. I'll talk to you next time.